All right, DJ LeRoy.
What's up, NightWatchman? How you been, buddy?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. How was last week, man? Because hey, we had also because we're in the midst of course, Harlem Week, so we had a beautiful forum as it relates to climate change. Because
Hmm.
we've been going through some serious stuff here in Harlem. What
Hmm.
what what are your thoughts, buddy?
My thoughts are that people should go back and listen to that episode because it was really enlightening.
Good one, Night Watchman. Good one. well, now the only thing that's going to maybe keep us cool is if we use technology to combat this, or will people just become a little bit more responsible? What are we going to do?
Well,
You can't answer that. I know
I
that. I know
can't
you.
answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
mean,
why
I believe
maybe.
we can use technology to help us. I'm hoping people will become more responsible. That's my
Okay.
answer.
Okay. Well, you know what? Well, maybe one of our guests here can answer that because I understand that there's going to be a technology forum happening again. Once again, of course, sponsored by who? Silicon Harlem.
That's right.
Why don't we bring out a veteran here of Soul Lounge Primetime, Mr. Clayton Banks? Bring him out here. Clayton!
Well. I was listening to you carefully, and you guys are doing such great work. I'm actually excited to be here right now, right in the middle of Harlem Week, right in the middle of the summer, right in the middle of everyone being impacted by so much new technologies. So this is the kind of thing I love doing. When you talk about the environment being impacted dramatically by technology, for example, and to your question, yes, it will require both people and technology together to address things of environment, etc.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that, Mr. Banks.
That's right. You get a 10 out of 10 and that answer.
Here you
Now Clayton knows I'm planting a subliminal suggestion there.
Uh-oh. Oh, yeah, Night
Well,
Watchman.
I'm always following you, Bob. So I'm gonna take
Well,
full advantage of all your nuances.
it's to set you up for to remind people that on October 10th there's going to
Mm.
be a Silicon Harlem conference.
That's what
And
we're talking about.
that's right. October is the 10th month of the year, and
Yeah.
we're launching on the 10th day of that month. And of course, it is representing the 10th year of Silicon Harlem. So we're
Woo!
Mhm,
celebrating. It's our anniversary.
mhm.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
And I
Well,
Uh,
remembered.
yeah, and it's funny that the very first conference we did 10 years ago, the
mhm.
theme was envisioning the technological future for Harlem. And we thought about it 10 years later for this year, for everyone who's listening and watching. The theme this year is no longer envisioning. We got that done over these 10 years. Everybody knows what's happening. We need what we need to do and all this kind of stuff. So we've changed the theme, and we've had a lot of themes between that very first one. We never used it again, but we now brought it back with this simple change. Not envisioning, empowering. It's time to empower, right? So, empowering the technological future for all. And so, you got to come to this. I'm telling you, obviously, Bob and Curtis will be there, but I want everyone coming. It's going to be a game changer for the history of our entire city.
Beautiful, beautiful.
All right.
Clayton, we're there with bells on. So, Night Watchman, we also have a couple of newbies to Soul Lounge Prime Time.
Mhm.
And we're going to be talking about something serious because I know, Bob, you don't like to admit it out loud, but you're still a gamer. You know
Um,
this.
okay.
so, so, so with that note, let's bring out Masaya Heywood. Bring him out here, man.
All right.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good, my brother. NYU Gaming. I didn't know that NYU did some serious gaming, buddy. Talk to
Yeah,
me.
oh, NYU does a lot of gaming. It's a big school. It's a very it's definitely one of the better schools for I would say game design college. I enjoyed my time there. a big time enjoy my time there. I look back on it very fondly. But
Mm.
I also wanted to say Harlem was the name. I did not realize that name was made, right? Because all this tech that I was seeing in Harlem, right? I'm like, what's the name for that? What's the name for I should have just looked it up and figured it out myself.
so, and if you don't know, now you know.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
And you know what, Night Watchman, did you know that was an homage to 50 years of hip hop, or did you not know that?
What was an homage to 50 years of it?
Wow. Clayton, he went in on me like that. What is this about? He doesn't know. If you don't know, now you know.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna give you
I forgot about your fledgling career as a rapper.
on that note, although he's a newbie, he's my kindred spirit because he, like I and your father, Night Watchman, went to what? Stuyvesant. Let's bring him out. This is Stan Altman. Bring him out here.
All right.
Hey, good to be joining you.
How you doing, Stan?
I am doing very well, thank you.
Yes. So Stan, now I certainly, when you attended Stuyvesant, I'm not going to age shame you because I'm a little bit behind you. Okay, computers, video gaming. What was that? That wasn't even on the horizon, or was it?
No, actually, I was thinking about that the other day. When I went to Stuyvesant, I got introduced to this slide rule, which was a major computational device in order to be able to calculate,
Right.
logarithms and simple things that today people don't even know what you mean by a slide rule. They think you're talking about some kind of sand pusher or something. But in fact, in my particular case, it was an interesting history to watch how technology has changed the way we actually process information, because by 1970, you could then buy a huge, Hewlett Packard calculator, which cost more money than a smartphone today does, and was a big, bulky device.
Yes.
And then eventually, and I was partly involved with this when I was at Princeton, people suddenly got into the personal computer. You no longer had to be a big mainframe. And I think the devices we walk around with, our cell phones today, have more power and memory than the kind of computers that were in the 70s and 80s.
Absolutely.
So there's been a huge change in ability for people to kind of access information and access technology. And I think I'm really resonant with the comment that Clayton made about empowerment, because I think one of the things that I've been doing through the Harlem Gallery of Science is really focusing on creating ways for young people in Harlem and up in Manhattan, South Bronx, where I grew up, to become empowered and to realize just how much creativity and how much talent they have to be able to use what they know to advance themselves into fields that up till now have been pretty closed off to them.
Absolutely. And Stan, I definitely got to go a little further because Clayton, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking about when you first came on the scene, and we're talking about this is a 10-year anniversary, when you were talking about broadband access to the community. So how are we doing on that front, man?
Not where we need to be. I mean, there's still people that are suffering because they don't have the internet in their home. That's ridiculous. Because if you think about it like this, and I hope everybody listens carefully here. If you do not have the internet, I say it in a dramatically way, you're no longer a citizen.
Wow.
Listen, if you live in New York, if you've been in New York and you have a car, which is a terrible thing to have in general, but if you have a car, you're going to get a ticket. Am I right, Bob? Everyone's going to get a ticket, right? So you somehow, some way, you're going to get a ticket. And I decided, since I get tickets all the time, I always pay them online. But I said one day, what if I didn't have the internet? And I went on and I did find a phone number and I called. And when the call was received, it started with the best way to pay your ticket was to go online.
Yes.
My point is, our governance has moved all of our civics to the internet. So
Yes.
you have to have access to that to be a citizen. And I'm very concerned that we're not taking that very, very serious. And I'm also extremely concerned that the people that have created this unbelievable problem are the ones that we tend to be giving money to try to fix it. I'm
Mm,
hoping that we will take a look at that and and bridge this. If not bridge it, let's close this entire digital issue, because if you look at all technologies, all the things that are impacting our lives starts with the internet.
wow, that is absolutely true. And Masaya, I'm assuming that you growing up, you had broadband, huh? That's the only way I guess you could have become a gamer. But now your your particular experience when you got to NYU design school, do tell me, were there many people of color that you were able to observe, or not many in that space?
Um, there were. I think there's an interesting overlap between some of the programs that have been established by the city
Mm-hmm.
that created a pipeline that led certain people of, say, African heritage, right,
Mm-hmm.
into NYU. But we definitely were the smallest proportion of students there. It was mainly, I guess, your usual faces within the games industry, right? And they're all
Mm-hmm.
talented people, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it shows to go, or sorry, I guess it goes to show that it really is only certain types of people who were grandfathered in from the previous days of like the internet, right? There
Mm-hmm.
was a certain type of person who was able to get, yeah, access to internet in the past, and I think what Mr. Banks was saying there about how there are people who don't have internet. Something I, once again, this new thing for me. Like I didn't realize, I grew up with it, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was
Mm-hmm.
able to be a gamer. I was able to get engaged with this at a very young age. But yeah, and then those pathway programs, they have produced some very, very great people from the New York neighborhood who are of underrepresented minorities. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that I hope that we could definitely continue to grow, because being at Harlem yesterday, I toured the Harlem School of the Arts, and how I was talking with them about how they're building out the game design center. I can see already there's very good talent there, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
very good talent. I was looking at some like the animation cells, right? Like they were drawing. I'm like, oh my goodness, like
Wow.
this is like Picasso, just came in here. I'm like, oh my lord. so so I can only imagine, what could come from that space from their game design studio.
Well,
Masaya, now can you also tell us a little bit about you? You've gone into the entrepreneurial space, so you took your education and decided to start your own company. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so me and my friends, we all started a studio. It's called Outfox Games,
Hmm.
and we're creating a game called Ritual Night, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Now I'll be honest, Ritual Night is not my baby. It was not my creative baby, but I definitely did go into the side of the business side of things and really getting engaged in what it means to be a gaming studio, right?
mm,
And it was very organic. How we all met. We all met in class, so it's nice having that friendship bond, right? Which is something that I've realized a lot of entrepreneurs don't initially get either, right? It's a very big benefit of college, but that's led me to travel the country a lot. I've gone also to Germany to showcase the game and meet a ton of different people out there. It's a huge industry, a very huge industry. And I'm hoping now that we got some funding, I'm hoping to take a step back from the company and is just come back here to New York and help build out the game industry here.
well, you know what? One of the other things, Stan Messiah, Messiah, he had mentioned that Harlem School of the Arts. Please do tell me about that particular partnership and relationship that you have established with the Harlem School of the Arts.
Well, it's really quite exciting. One of the things we have been doing is we recognized early on, since most of the focus of our efforts at the gallery are really around Black and Hispanic students who basically don't often have opportunities, or all some of the reasons Clayton talked about. Besides under-resourced schools, they need to access to technology. If they don't really have it, some of the things they do are limited. But we discovered in some of the work that we were doing how much gaming kept coming up. And so we decided to interview high school students. And we're really taken aback by just the image people had about why young people play games. That is to just purely waste time and have, the clear parent view that you just only want to play, as opposed to their serious approach with gaming in terms of personal, professional development. And so one of the things we were able to do was partner with another nonprofit called Urban Arts and with City College. And we got the mayor's office to put up $2 million so that we could create a whole pathway from high school through college into the gaming industry. And up till now, there's been no public bachelor's degree program for young people who want to go into the industry. And so City College is building a bachelor's degree program now in digital game design.
Wow.
And so that changes the whole calculus, because this is a public institution. The tuition is affordable. I won't try to draw a comparison with my colleagues at NYU, which is one of the flagship gaming programs in New York State. The issue with the Harlem School of the Arts is the gallery has always had this much broader view about being our role in the community. And we recognized early on that to build a real ecosystem to support all these young people, we really needed to be able to reach out and both educate and support teachers and parents. And so the gallery has undertaken to open up an exhibition on gaming this coming January 2024. And the idea is to focus on young people about how gaming helps them discover who they are, how they relate to their communities, and what their future opportunities are. And so we formed a series of advisory groups, one of which involved James Horton from the Harlem School of the Arts. We subtly hit a really resonant note. We talked with James about his desire to build out a gaming program, in which we've offered to collaborate with him on doing. And at the same time, he offered to have the gallery's exhibition show in the Harlem School of the Arts. So we're working on this together. Our expectation is that we're going to spend more time with him and the young cohorts of students that he has in terms of introducing gaming and getting them involved at City College programs. So I think one of the things that's often overlooked about gaming, although in some cases in technical fields, we take it for granted. We often call it simulations. But I was at the UN about 2 weeks ago for a conference, and they were talking about the challenges they're now facing meeting their sustainability goals. While they've made progress for 10 years, it suddenly seems to be sliding back. And the challenge they face is, how do you change people's attitudes and behavior?
Yes.
And the way they've concluded you do that is you develop games that you have people play and make them experience the consequence of the choices they make.
Okay.
And so, I think gaming is showing up in the classrooms. The city just concluded the Battle of the Boroughs, where
yes.
it was amazing watching 3rd and 5th graders use Minecraft to end up building these very sophisticated sustainability projects. So we're looking forward to a lot of work with the Harlem School of the Arts. We work with a number of other community groups in Harlem and Upper Manhattan and the Bronx. I think games have a way of engaging young people and providing, particularly students from underrepresented communities, a way of demonstrating what they're capable of. And what I often say to people is, based on the interviews we did, if you really want to understand what a kid's capable of, ask him to show you his portfolio. Don't ask him about his GPA score. Let him show you the creative things he's done. And that's what the industry looks for. It doesn't look for grade point averages. It wants to know, can you solve a problem? Can you do a design? Are you capable of communicating ideas? So,
absolutely. Well, you know what? That then brings me, of course, Clayton, because remember, we are in the midst of Harlem Week. And you, of course, with Silicon Harlem, have had a prominent role, especially as it relates to technology. Your hackathons are legendary. So I need to know, for this Harlem Week, what do you have in store for Silicon Harlem?
Well, first of all, before you do that,
Oh.
I have a secret to share with you. I saw a side of Clayton Banks that I hadn't seen until this year, and most weekdays, Silicon Harlem is filled with young people this year. And Clayton Banks is right there in the center of them, interacting with them. And so I want to hear Clayton's perspective on just the interactions he's having with young people. Gaming is certainly a component in some of the things they're talking about. So Clayton, just give us a little sense of your perspective of, I've always seen you dealing with the politicians at the city and state level, but you were in there with the kids, keeping them captivated and engaged, and that's really, I would say, inspiring and energizing. So tell us about your summer.
Well, I appreciate that, Bob, and I have to say, Bob also was very much involved in everything happening in our space, and we're very grateful for him. I will say, because Curtis never does come over to us. So anyway, let's just keep going. But yeah, we this particular summer, every summer we take kids, and this particular year we took 24 kids, all 14 and 15-year-olds, and they were here every single day, every time, always on time, being very, I think, coming in very nervous at that age and things of that nature. But over like 5 days into it, everybody was very comfortable, loved being at the space. And it's funny that you guys talked about gaming. We have extraordinary levels of gaming at Silicon Harlem, including PS5s and those kind of things and virtual reality. And the kids were just loving it, gaming. We had metaverse gaming things. We have all kind of stuff going on in that space. And what we look at it from that perspective is not just simply as we're talking about on this call in relation to kids and gaming and careers. We're very much involved in all of those things. We certainly are serving with adults and seniors and all that kind of stuff. And I'll talk a little bit about that connected to Harlem Week. As Bob is talking about, though, the kids that are here at 14 and 15, one of the kids that had come to our office and has become one of our employees and things of that nature she's 15 years old. She had never left the Bronx. She had never traveled out of the Bronx.
Wow.
So it was her first time leaving out of the Bronx and leaving on a subway from there. So it's like an animal coming out of the jungle and seeing things from the very new things. And the point is our job wasn't to teach you how to play a game or teach you how to do this or that and the other. Our goal was to give you as much access and exposure. And I would ask everyone to come visit our space. Even you, Stan, you haven't seen all the new things we have here, because it is extremely important to give people access and exposure. The idea that somehow you got to teach, sure, that's true. But that's not the only thing. The most important thing is give people access and exposure. I have a table in my space that's a computer where 4 or 5 people can be on it at the same time. They come up with the idea. They come up with the game. They came up with all kind of stuff. Just having access and exposure. Harlem Week is big on that. So the hackathon, we actually focused on environment this year as well as AI. And so that's been a big part of our lives these last year and two. So the kids are doing that, and I think it is out on August 14th or so. But I'm telling you, it is a huge hackathon that everyone should look at that. It'll be up on the online. Also, today, the reason why I'm in a car and I'm all over the place is I've got to go see the seniors. The seniors will be at Adam Clayton Powell, and I'm going to be speaking to them and talking to them about AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And that's happening today.
Gotcha.
And of course, we did cybersecurity. And I did cybersecurity. Do you know what the idea I talked about in Cybersecurity,
No.
artificial intelligence. So the whole theme that I've created from Silicon Harlem's perspective is I'm going to get everybody up to speed on what's happening around artificial intelligence, both the good parts of it and some of the struggles that people are having with it. And so cybersecurity is incredibly vulnerable, and we all need to be aware of that, and so forth. But then there's great jobs that are available. There's great opportunities available. So there's good and there's challenges all at the same time. So yeah, thanks for giving us an opportunity to talk about that.
Absolutely, and you know what? I have to ask this, Masaya. Just tell me that with artificial intelligence, I will eventually be able to replace a Bob. Is that correct?
No.
Maybe I'm not sure. No offense, Bob. Just being realistic with you, you might have to start the career shift.
I'm pretty sure I'll replace Curtis before he replaces me.
Wow!
Okay.
This is how we're going at it.
But that's an AI thing. That's not a gaming thing. That's an AI thing. I've already replicated Obama. I'm the new Obama now.
Oh man, NightWatchman, what you got for us?
Well, I mean, I think that the AI question is one that's very, very relevant now. We're in what I would say the 8th month of a real wave of activity around AI when, Chat GPT really hit back in December and has really kind of changed the landscape. And now we have really kind of 3 major AIs that people can play around with. One you kind of have to pay for. Well, Chat GPT has a free version, but you have Google Bard and you have another one called Claude 2, and these are all very, very accessible. So I think the thing is that people can use AI to become super learners, and so that there's an opportunity to start to ask AI good questions. And it's just like anything else in life. When you ask the better questions, you get better answers. So I think we have to look at AI like we've looked at the changes we've already had. Like most people don't know we don't know how our indoor plumbing works. We just know we turn the faucet and the water shows up. We don't know where it comes from. Most people don't know where electricity comes from. We just know we plug this thing in the wall and the light goes on. And we know what it does. We don't know everything that's behind it. Most people don't know how Wi-Fi works, how the internet works. But what happens is as these things come along, society adjusts forward in terms of understanding what it does, and we start to act accordingly. So we're in the early phase where we're in the middle of that adjustment. And there are definitely concerns about AI because it's creating disruptions, but there's always been a disruption. The internet created disruption, Wi-Fi created disruptions, and there are always people who will take advantage of it. But the whole thing is, as in all technology, is there's an opportunity if people jump on early and learn what it does, that it can be empowering. And going back to the theme that Clayton talked about of empowering, it's really important for people to start to understand how it can impact their lives positively, as well as understanding what the dangers are.
Absolutely. And Masaya, so what Bob just laid out there, tell me about, let's say, the intersection with AI at Outfox games. Do you see that connection there?
Yes, actually. I think there's a lot of application for AI in, say, our current game, Ritual Night, and also for our work practices. So to go first with like in the game, usually for games you'll have things called NPCs, right? Non-player characters. And they are essentially agents, automatic agents already controlled. Like this is a way of AI. It's called decision trees, right? It's like, okay, if A happens, then I'll do B, right? But if C happens, then I'll do D, right? But that's a very archaic way of doing AI, right? So as time moves forward, we'll probably see more of this current like neural networks within games, right? And right now, as indies, it's a little bit difficult for us to get into that because it takes a lot of computational power. right? But it definitely is like, for example, I've interfaced with startups that have been like, hey, listen, we're trying to create a solution for you to be able to use this kind of AI in your game very easily, right? But it's still very early for that kind of stuff. But I do imagine that one day we'll see smaller studios like ours be able to take advantage of this technology in a similar way that in the past, indies, small studios, they couldn't really take care, or they couldn't really make games that had physics in it, because physics was a thing that had a lot of, you know, also a lot of work, a lot of computation. But then it got easier. Then it got really easy. And then it's all of a sudden, you like, I think about like 2017 or so, 2018, 2019, you saw like a explosion of like games, indie games that had a lot of physics in it, right? And it was really cool because very creative, right? It showed something. It showed all that creativity that you weren't going to get from those big studios because they weren't going to really try and, you know, push the boat too much, right?
Yes.
And then in terms of the work side,
Yes.
I do think there's already some possibility for us to extend our work. In fact, when I was doing some coding, I did use ChatGPT to like work off to see. Yeah, like I was like looking at it. I was like, okay, hey, I have an error here. I was just like, you know, I'm stuck. You know, I have an error here, right? And I just described my situation to it, right? And I was like, wow, okay, no, it helped me. Like it got me
Wow.
through to my like got me through my issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that if you learn how to talk to the AI,
Uh-huh.
you can solve your problems much quicker, right? You can definitely, like, another thing for me as a coder, I hate starting up a script and then looking at just a blank like sheet of paper, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
like starting a whole new essay all over again. And I'm like, if I could just type in and say, hey, you know, make this ball move like this, right? And then it gives me this. It might not be perfect,
Uh-huh.
but at the very least, it gave me a really nice base. You know?
Wow. Wow. So literally, and what I'm hearing here, Stan, AI, a tool, a basic tool, but now how it's going to be applied is where we may run into some issues. And is that something that you guys are actually teaching in the um, Gallery of Science?
Well, when I was at Baruch in 2014, when IBM announced the Watson division, I reached an agreement with them to run a competition across all of the City University of New York, where students would take on a problem involving some aspect of a city agency service. And they would have access to all of the AI tools that Watson were now bringing on the market. Not the, not the full blown commercial version, but enough of sophistication that they could actually use it to solve problems. And so we did. For 4 years, we had students building AI applications. One of them that was always pretty dramatic was when the health department gets clinical data every day as a way of tracking whether or not there are any potential epidemics happening. They'll often get the test data, but no diagnosis missing. And so then staff has to figure out, given the data, what's the diagnosis, so they could then see how that disease category fits in with all the other information they're getting. And the health department said to one of our student teams, why can't Watson do this? And
Wow.
so the students actually built a demonstration version. And I think here's the part that often gets lost. These AI tools just don't learn out of nowhere. You have to provide them data. So the health department gave them 3,000 cases that they already knew the answer to in order to train their AI application. And then the students were given 1,000 cases where they didn't know the answer, and both the staff and the students' application generated what they thought were the diagnosis categories. And in most cases, the students had a more accurate version of what the diagnosis was than the staff did.
Wow.
And the student application could do it in minutes as opposed to days. Now, one of the real dangers that's often lost, and we often hear about it in terms of visual recognition, is that the data that they train these AI tools in order to identify people are often biased. That is, they don't contain enough information, particularly about people of color and women. so that they then make identifications, particularly involving criminal cases, where people are accused of committing a crime when they have no connection at all to the situation that's being discussed. And I think that's why visual recognition has been a very controversial use of AI.
Yes,
And
yes.
They actually reported a case. I read it last week. It was a pregnant woman in Detroit who was arrested wrongfully for fraud or something like that, and it was due to facial recognition misidentification. And so, Stan, you're exactly right. And this is not a future problem. This is a today problem already.
No, it is. And part of what exasperates it is that often the people who then use that information aren't sophisticated enough or understand enough about AI to question whether or not the information they're getting, whether it's accurate enough. They take it on blind faith.
Right.
I mean, one of the things, having been involved with computers for a good part of my career, is the mistake people make of thinking if a computer gives you an answer, it must be right. And that couldn't be further from the truth. That old adage about, garbage in, garbage out.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's one of the dangers we run into here.
I would let me build on this just for a moment.
Yeah.
Because this is important for everybody to hear.
Okay.
What I'm very fascinated about is how we get so crazy over technology. And there's so many technologies that we all thought was going to be the greatest thing, and they fail. And I'm not saying that ChatGPT is going to fail. I'm not saying that, but it does have a lot of issues. And we get so our eyes go that it's like the dog looking for a squirrel. We just keep looking at that thing like, oh, there's a squirrel. Stop. Do you remember the Segway transporters, those things that would, be able to, gone, nowhere around anymore. What about Google Glass? Do you guys remember Google Glass? Maybe some of you don't, but Google Glass was supposed to be the greatest thing coming on. What about HD DVDs? What happened to those things? What happened to, I could go on and on and on. You got to look at WebOS. I mean, if you want to be a tech person and talk tech, look at all the different things. Look at 3D television. I remember we had conferences on 3D television. I mean, you got to stop. Don't get all freaked out about something that comes on. What you got to do is focus on how to get involved of what you have a passion for. A lot of us just look at something and go, maybe I can make some money out of this. No, go for your passion. You talk about video games on this call, and I love talking about that because I probably, the young kid on this call probably doesn't remember this because he was too young, but I created the Sega Channel. video games through digital, first all digital network in the history of television. I was doing that was in the 90s, and we didn't even we got beat up by the internet overall. It was like the internet came along. But anyway, I'm just saying that one of the things we should share to people on these type of calls and these type of opportunities to speak is to give people the information without saying that it's the greatest thing that will ever be, because it won't. Even the metaverse is slowing down. I mean, really, it's like, come on, we've got to be careful. I think about like, if I talk about video games, I talk about the jobs that are involved in that. There's so many jobs in video games. It's really crazy. And I think that's what Dr. Stan is doing and the startup is doing. That's where we need to be. Let's get people good jobs. Cybersecurity, incredible. 700,000 jobs in this country right now for cybersecurity people. And a lot of it is because of AI. AI is like vulnerable, super vulnerable. So anyway, I'm just sort of putting my 2 cents on is go for your passion, go for something you're good at, and you will be fine. and the skills around you will come your way. I mean, that's the good news. But we do have to share all these new things, but we have to share it in a wholesome, right? Like, here's the good stuff, and here's sort of the challenging stuff. Matter of fact, I'm doing that with the seniors today in a few minutes. AI, all the good things that will come for them, but also let them know that there are vulnerabilities to it.
Nice. Very good one. And you know what? Just so you know, Clayton, please go over to Bob's house. You will see that old Segway in his closet. Okay, just so you know.
I used to run on one myself.
Curtis, don't quit your day job, bro. We need you there.
Masaya, please. I saw you shaking your head when Clayton was making a couple of points. So please expand. Tell me what you were thinking.
Oh, for sure. So I was thinking about how yesterday I was at a mentorship event, right? And we're mentoring kids in the urban arts program.
Mm.
And honestly, one asked me a question about AI and the future of the game industry, because I think that is definitely, going off what Clayton was saying, that's a big fear, right?
Mm.
And I can especially imagine it's the same for, the people who are younger than me, because they're like, okay, well, shoot, as soon as I'm out of school, it's like the whole world gonna have no jobs, everything's gonna be AI, right? And I had to dissuade his fears, because I was like, I'm telling you, it's not there yet, right? It's not quite there yet, right? To really be replacing that much jobs. But as I said earlier, it really is a situation of like, I do think it seems useful right now to me, right? But I do think it'll probably improve, right? Don't know how much, I'm not gonna try and prognosticate too far, right? Ahead of myself here, right? But I do think it is a good skill to learn, to know how to interface with these tools, because they can increase your productivity, right? And I'm assuming that as time goes on, that we'll probably see even more specialization, right, for these tools into certain subsets, right?
Yeah.
Like if you could integrate ChatGPT into Unity Engine for games, right? I'm sure you would probably be able to really be able to supercharge your game development, or like people who aren't able, as another thing, right? Being able to make something accessible to people who normally wouldn't do something, right? If you are somebody who doesn't like to code, right? And you're like, I want to make a game, I'm a good artist, right? But I just don't like to code. Now you have much more ability to actually be able to create a game, right, by yourself, right, with AI, and I think that's a great thing,
Yes. And you know what? I'm kind of thinking, a Night Watchman. Back in the day when we were watching some of the superhero things, let's say Spider-Man, and you definitely knew when there was CGI stuff. But tell me, guys, is that stuff getting so good or advanced that it's going to become seamless where you won't be able to tell? Tell me. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's already happened.
Yeah. So you can watch a film now and won't be able to tell the CGI to the real. Stan?
Well, we already have that.
Go ahead.
We have, when you see some of these scenes where they de-age people, where
Right.
you're going back and seeing an actor, but you're seeing them 20 years younger or 30 years younger or older. I mean, all that CGI, they can put anybody's face on anybody's body at this point in time. So yeah, we're already there.
And so literally, and that's not even a makeup person doing this. This is the computer.
No, it's all computer. Yep.
Wow. Clayton?
Yeah, I agree. I think to me that's trivial, right? The question is, who is developing, who is actually leading it. I mean, those are the positions you want to be in. I was just thinking about AI. Do you know that there is a job called artificial intelligence trainers? You can actually train people. I mean, and it's a real thing. I mean, so I look at it from the perspective of, let's don't get enamored by it. Let's take advantage of it, right? We're still people. AI can never beat me on anything. But, because first of all, I can hack it. And second of all, I'm physical, right? AI is not physical. So I have a whole different kind of moving and grooving that they can't do, that AI can't do. And I don't want to get off the topic, but I'm saying that the real goal will be able to, there's two things I think about every day. How do we create better humanity on this world? Because I'm already working on protocols for the space. I'm getting the hell off of this planet. So I'm already trying to make sure I get the internet up in space. So I'm saying that to say we got to get to a point of these things will create better humanity, better health, better life, better safe. These are the things that are, I mean, what is the point of some of this stuff if it doesn't have an impact?
Yes.
You know, if I asked any of you, Bob would probably know these kind of questions, but if you think of like the top 4 rich people that died in the 70s, or let's say even the 60s, I don't think any of us would be able to like nail that. But if I said in the 60s, can you nail somebody that died in the 60s that was trying to move humanity, like a Martin Luther King? Dead at 39, everybody. Dead at 39. So I'm saying that to say that's much more important than watching Chat GPT go a bunch of lines in the front of your screen. That's not exciting. The exciting is what people are willing to do to make sure that we're moving our humanity forward, and technology can be helpful to that, but it won't drive that. And I don't even like when people say that data driven, data drive. No, data has one specific goal, and that's to create a compass and give us some direction. But we as people still have to make decisions. I don't want to preach here. I actually do want to preach here, but I'm not going to preach here. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it with that.
Thank you, Reverend Banks. Now, and having said that, because one thing, Stan, certainly that you mentioned was empowering these young people. Now, empowering young people, absolutely, but young people with a purpose and a cause and a righteous cause is that some of the things that you're seeing in what you're doing, imparting to these young people, that they also want to do good with that power that they now have.
Well, I think that's absolutely true. In fact, in many cases, they have a sense of what needs to be done that the adult world around them don't have. When the city had the finals for Battle of the Boroughs on the Intrepid, there are 2 divisions. There's the 3rd grade to 5th grade, and then there's the middle, I guess, junior high school or middle school to high school. The 5th grade, and the challenge was to build a sustainable area in your borough. And the winning team had a building that had no windows. And so one of the questions the judges asked the team, remember, these are 3rd grade to 5th graders. And this is a week after we had that whole air scare from the fire.
Yes.
Right? And so they said to the team captain, so what is that building? And the young man said, that's a bunker. A bunker? How does a bunker fit into a sustainable park? He said, well, this is a bunker which has clean air inside. So when you have bad air, like now, where people are having difficulty breathing, they can come into this building and it's clean air. And it's meant to be kind of a safe space. Now, they're talking about uses of technologies. They had a whole clever scheme for avoiding pedestrians getting run over by bikers in a park. So I think one of the things I think I've learned during this process of getting involved with primarily high school students around gaming issues is that they know a whole lot more and have a whole lot more to contribute if we ever ask them and listen to them. And I think part of the empowering uses in the public schools, where they use Minecraft to solve social complex problems like around climate change, like around sustainable cities, is that they have very, very clever ideas about how to do this. And having a tool that allows them to articulate that, not in a written word, but in a visual form that they're more comfortable with, is a way of empowering them. It gives them a communication skill that I never had growing up, because we were pencil and paper.
Absolutely. So, and, you know what? I liked what you said, Stan, and Clayton. Absolutely, in terms of really doing good with this technology, helping to solve problems on a grand scale. And so, Masaya, please do tell me, in terms of Outfox Games, what was the, let's say, the initial impetus for this? Just to be going to games, or also have a social purpose?
Well, there is a social purpose. It's a multiplayer game that we are creating, and it really spawned out of COVID, right? Being apart,
Nice.
and it was we want to interact with our friends, right? We want to have
Hmm.
fun with them, right? We want to be able to do the things that we used to be able to do in person, right? And what our game is a social deduction game, right? It's about okay, I guess I say we want to do things with our friends, and I'm about to say describe to you social deduction, which is like you have to lie, you have to keep yourself like you have to keep things secret, So hopefully, we weren't really running around lying or anything, but you want to have fun, right? You want to have fun. You want to interact. There are aspects of your life that this game, Retro Night, takes and emulates and makes fun,
Hmm.
right? Things that you just wouldn't be able to do, I guess, just through a normal Zoom call, or at least, yeah, I guess maybe you could, but it just wasn't the same, right? It
Hmm.
wasn't the same as being able to be in person and play games like Mafia or Werewolf.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, this was a solution really that came out of COVID. It was something that was born from a desire to still interact with people, right? And I would say that in the wider game industry, we saw a lot of games really explode because they were games that allow people to still have that fun sort of, I guess, party atmosphere, that environment from home, right? Because you couldn't go out.
Yes, yes, that's true. And Clayton, one of the things that I also saw when I did visit the space, okay, did visit the space,
You did.
I saw a couple of drones. And so, what were you doing with the drones there, man?
I'm going to talk about that. Can I quickly
Yes, go
say
ahead.
to Mr. Heywood? I'm sorry, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, Masaya Heywood.
Okay. So, are you in New York?
Yeah, I'm in New York right now. In fact,
Well,
I'm explaining the trip.
I want to invite you to come over to my space. I want to make sure I say that before we get off this call. I would love for you to come by, chop it up with me. I'd love to, wherever I can be of help with your startup. We have lots of resources that could probably be helpful, and just get to know you, man. So you would, I think you'd like the space in general. Is you'd see Bob physically there if you come at night. Well, he's a night guy, but anyway, yeah, we'll be there all the time. So at any rate, Curtis, to your
Yep.
point, I think. What was the actual thing you want me to talk about?
Yeah. Well, remember, I wanted to be a
Oh, the
pilot
drones.
of
The
the
drones. You're
drones.
talking
Yes.
about the drones. The thing we do, Silicon Harlem, the way we look at it is how do we ensure that people not just have fun with it like toys, but
Hmm.
to actually a curriculum that teach them how to build an infrastructure for that, but more importantly, actually get jobs in the space. Walmart's a
Yes.
good example. Walmart is now putting a fleet of drones together
Wow.
to drop activity into people's homes and businesses and things of that nature. So just from a delivery perspective, drones are going to be really, really important. That job is starting in six figures. I mean,
Mm.
and you only have to be 16 to get a pilot license. But there's all types of jobs within the drone world. And that's why I like that you guys are always looking at different types of technology, sharing it with so many people around the world, listening to these calls and stuff like that. Because drones, one of those things that people hear about it, might think of it as a toy or fun, or perhaps simply for war and killing each other. But also, there's a whole lot of areas that drones are going to make an impact on, and that will require people,
Yes.
jobs. So I'm very proud that we were early on that space. We started doing drone curriculums in 2016. That's how long we've been doing it. So we've kind of let it go recently because there's a lot of people doing that now. So we feel like we've made our point, and now people in Harlem are not mystified about it at all anymore because we worked really hard to make sure they understood what that technology was. And I do
Absolutely.
want to mention, because I know we're coming to an end on this call, we talked about the conference we have coming up.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, as I was listening, the conference I didn't mention where we're going to be.
Do tell.
Harlem School of the Arts.
Woo! Wow.
The circle of life.
The circle.
Yeah.
I mean,
so how bizarre is that? Well, we did an event a few months ago with the governor and everybody and the Harlem School of the Arts on broadband, and but I love the place anyway. So we already did a big thing there, and now we're going to do it for the conference on October 10th, empowering the technological future for all. Let's get it in.
Nice. You know what, Night Watchman, don't be scared of the drone outside your window. It's all right. Just try to do facial recognition. That's all.
Well, New York is careful about that. New York is careful because you can drive by somebody's window and be like, what? So, yeah, there's a lot of issues with that.
Gotcha.
Curtis, can I put a plug in here before we end?
Absolutely.
So Harlem Week, and given what Masaya was talking about in terms of the social aspects of, multiplayer games, City College is hosting the very first intramural esports competition between 4 of its colleges on February 19th, on August 19th, over in the NAC building. That's the
yes, North Academic Center.
Academic Center in the ballroom, which is 130 H Street and Convent Avenue.
Wow.
It'll start at about 11 o'clock in the morning, the competition. It'll also be streamed. There's a website called gamingpathways.org, which you can get a link if you can't physically get up to the college. But there's a case in which young people during the pandemic said that one of the things that competitive games did, it allowed them to build social networks. And that's an important part for them about why they play games.
Nice. And you know what? And Stan, this is why we have a Night Watchman. You saw him put up the bands right there.
Right.
I mean, he's invaluable. He's the tech guru. Thank you, Night Watchman. Okay.
I don't need your validation,
but Masaya, I can't even be nice to the guy. I can't even do that.
This is the war. Yeah, this is why.
So you have. Go ahead. Let me hear some parting words on your behalf, buddy.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited to see what New York is doing. I honestly, out of all the places I've been so far, it feels like New York City has the place that's really pushing to try and build this game industry out. So I think big things are coming. I definitely, of course, also want to plug Outfox Games.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So go to outfoxgames.com, right? Look up Ritual Night, wishlist on Steam.
Yes.
We'll be releasing our game later this year.
Yeah. Okay. Can you give me a little synopsis, a little tickler, what this game might be?
Oh, okay. So,
little
boy, I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go into elevator pitch. Go
ahead. You got it.
Yeah. So so it's a 4 to 6 player social deduction game where you're put amongst 2 teams with your friends, right? One team is secretly trying to ruin the ritual, right? And you need to figure out who those people are, right? And if you figure out, you throw them into the pot at the end of the game, right? Normally for games like this, they don't like, or they'll like eliminate players too early, right? But we were like, that's not fun. Like, we want people to play together. Like, we don't want everyone to get eliminated all the time.
Yeah.
So we kept it all right to the end, right? So it's like it's all this tension builds up, and finally people are like, no, you're the one. Like, you're the one. You're the guy, right? So yeah, so that's Among Us.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's our competitor, Among Us. We're better than Among Us.
There you go. Thank you. Mr.
Break that from the record. I can't let the rest of my team hear that.
Okay. So Mr. Banks, some parting words from you, sir.
You're on mute.
Not anymore. So I will say very quickly, since Heywood just took up all the air there, I'm gonna be very quickly. say that you guys are doing a great job. I mean, really, there's a lot of
Uh,
people that get on this call with you are, looking for this kind of information. And you allowing me and my colleagues here to be on here to talk about, all these different subjects around technology is absolutely a joy. And I just want to mention that, you guys got to keep this going. Because I've listened with you guys for some years, and you've talked about a whole lot of different topics,
mhm.
and it will always continue to be something new coming up. And so I'm so happy you're able to share that. People will forget maybe some of the things that have been talked about because some things don't continue. But you guys have done nothing but a great job, and I hope to be on as often as you guys will have me because I always have something new going on.
I
All
love
that to
this.
say, thank you for this opportunity. I want everybody to come to the conference. You guys will be there. I'll
Yeah.
be there. It's going to be a game changer. You know, we are trying to create a pathway for all, right? So, whatever that is, where you're creative, if you like making food, if you are a dancer, if you enjoy movies, if you prefer video games, you will feel all of that within Silicon Harlem. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Clayton, your $40 is in the mail. Okay, just so you know.
Yeah, I better
Night
get
Watchman.
$40 every day.
Night Watchman, take us home.
We've been listening to Soul Lounge Primetime, broadcasting on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem, also live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Google Podcast. Ask Siri, Ask Alexa, and Ask Curtis Archer.
Oh, wow. Guys, incredible show. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Yeah.